The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Sorry, we're a little bit late this morning because we've had every technical difficulty under the sun, but we have the fabulous Traven Hardy, and so hopefully we have taken care of those. I'm saying good morning to Laurie, and we are clarifying. Thank you, Nava, for writing in and telling us that it's that the program that we're going to be talking about today is the dating spectrum, not dating on the spectrum, but we're going to be talking a little bit about dating on the spectrum while we're going to be talking about a very specific program that's called the dating spectrum. So just wanted to clarify that. And good morning to our Journey Cameron's New Life. So thrilled that all of you are here with us. And we have wonderful guests that are going to be joining us this morning. We've got the fabulous Tom Iland, who is from the cometolifecoaching.com program. And he's going to be joining us in just a little while. Plus, Chrissa Saad is going to be with us, and I probably am butchering her name. It's funny how you can know somebody for a million years and still butcher their name. It's embarrassing, but she'll correct me and we'll move on from there. But she's an amazing LMFT who works at the Ed Asner Family Center and is at the head of providing a lot of counseling services. So they're going to be talking about their new program, the dating spectrum, but we're going to be talking about dating on the spectrum in general and self-esteem on the spectrum and a lot of other different things. We've got a lot of ground to cover this morning. And as I said, we started a little bit late. So let me start by saying that we're live right now. Today is Wednesday. It is September 14th, 2022. I'm excited to be with you for a lot of different reasons, all of which we'll talk about later, but we are live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and about a dozen other places. And Traven will start to show some of those to you in just a moment. We're doing the show a little different. It's this very interesting thing. When COVID hit, I'm very proud of the fact that I was just explaining this to somebody the other night. I said, we continued doing shows all through COVID, for those of you who are watching, and we did more shows. And they said, wow, that's amazing. And you did it without the studio. And I said, Traven and I started playing the month before. I sort of had my eye on Italy and was like, okay, if we were in Italy, how would we do this? Because it might be coming here, right? It wasn't that I was psychic. I'm not psychic. But I saw that stuff was happening in Italy and, it could happen here. So we started playing and going home and trying, doing little test runs from home. So we were on live from home before Jimmy Kimmel was. And I continue to be very proud of that. But, as everybody has come back and been in the studio, we're like the last because, we had to relocate and it takes time. But what I didn't realize, and I think is really hard, is that we're still trying to run a hybrid and technology changed. So sometimes we have people in the studio and sometimes we have people remote. So it's a whole thing, you guys. It's a whole thing. So I'm in the studio right now. I'm just in a different portion of the studio right now because one of our guests needed to be virtual. So then we all have to be virtual today. So until we get to a place when that isn't the case. So that's why I keep moving around and I'm in different places because we're doing hybrids right now of being in the studio and not in the studio and semi in the studio and all in the studio because it's its own thing. And it's very exciting. And I'm thrilled that we have our guest today. But if you're wondering why are we playing musical chairs, that is why, because it's the hybrid thing. So I definitely want to say that Traven's been showing you some of the different places where you can watch the show. The chat is open right now, as you heard me talking to Laurie and to our Journey Cameron's New Life and to Nava. Nava, we're wishing you well this morning and hoping that everybody's good there. And we're hoping everybody everywhere is good, right? But sending special love to Nava. And I also want to say, I want to take a brief second here. We talked about this yesterday, that this is us starting our 12th year of doing this, that we've been doing this for 12 years full time. And I got a message this morning that one of our viewers from the very beginning the amazing Amy Hebel, who, when I was doing this in a studio by myself and not knowing if anybody was watching, Amy was one of the first people who was watching. And I never got to meet Amy. But I felt like we were sisters in it together, and she would write to me about what was going on with her and her daughter and her struggle in a remote place to get services for her daughter. And, I always say to you guys, I can't always move mountains. Sometimes I can tell you about resources, and sometimes there aren't resources where you are. And I watched Amy be so brave and find resources for her daughter. I'm welling up. When there weren't any resources, and I saw her claim her seat and say, I'm going to be a warrior mom and I'm going to work this for her. And I love Facebook because, as some of you will friend me on Facebook, and I'm sure every once in a while when I write to somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, I just figured it was somebody else doing this for you. I don't have anybody else running my social media. Traven and I run Autism Live Media, and nobody runs my personal Facebook stuff. It's like a regular Facebook page. You can friend me there. And the thing is I get attached to you guys and you become part of my life. And Amy became a part of my life. And we didn't talk on a regular basis, but every once in a while we would. And I would celebrate for her when her daughter went to prom. And I could watch all those things as we do on Facebook and see people's lives unfold. And of course, I cried with her when she was diagnosed with cancer. And I had seen recently that things were not going well. And this morning, her husband let us all know that she had passed. So I'm thinking about Amy this morning and thinking about what it is to be a warrior mom, and thinking about how hard she fought for her daughter and what a brave woman she was and how I considered her a friend. And I want to say this to all of you, that I know that on this journey, sometimes it feels like you are alone, but you are not. There are always other people. Even if it wasn't a day when I talked to Amy, there was always a part of my brain that was pulling for her and all the things that she was doing. Nobody is alone in this. And the lives that you guys lead, sometimes their lives, I'm sorry, I'm very emotional about this, but I want you to know that there are people that you don't even know that you're in their arms, and that I will always carry a piece of Amy in my heart as one of those amazing moms who gets it done. And I am thrilled for her for all the things that she was able to accomplish. I know that she didn't want to go. But I hope that she went in peace, and I hope that the community embraces her husband and her daughter through this very difficult time, because what a life force and what an amazing person she was. So I just needed to say that. And if you're watching the show, there's so many of you, and I always want to know all of you and know your names and know your kids' names, and I'm getting old and I don't remember people's names. And I think sometimes people get offended by that. But I want you to know that I still have love for all of you. And you do become people that have an impact on my life. When you write in, for those of you who have written in this morning, you are people, you're part of my family. So we appreciate you being here. And I want you to know I appreciate you being here, and that we all get through this together, right? Si se puede. Anyway, I didn't mean to get sloppy, messy, but I wanted to remember Amy this morning, and remember her spirit every day. So there we go. All right, I'll try to mop down here, and because we got a great show, and we're talking about a topic that I think is very upbeat, and about people on the spectrum having the opportunity to have every chance to do all the things in life. And one of those is to be in relationships, albeit complicated relationships sometimes, right? But if we all have the right to that, then I think it's a better place. And of course, individuals on the spectrum have that right. I didn't give the disclaimer, but what we're here about here on Autism Live and all of the programs on the Autism Network is providing information and inspiration. That really is our mission and our guiding light always in all of the things that we do. And we always tell you that is for that larger autism community, which of course starts with individuals who are on the spectrum themselves, right? And we're finding more and more ways to have their voice be elevated elevated and magnified here on this network. If you haven't watched Stories from the Spectrum yet, you're missing it. More and more of you are finding it. Because it's good. It's really good. And because it's all people using their own voices to tell their own stories and the way they tell them. And I could just sit and watch that all day long. That's better than butter pecan ice cream to me. But we also include in our community, of course, all that larger group of people that are all the people who love individuals on the spectrum. That's the parents and the brothers and the sisters and the boyfriends and the girlfriends and the teachers and all the people who care deeply about people who are on the autism spectrum. I hope that in our lifetime, that will become the entire world. If the entire world consisted of people who were on the spectrum and people who loved people on the spectrum, what a lovely place we could get to, right? I expect that will be the world, and we make that happen one thing at a time. So anyway, I'm sending big hugs to all of you. Thank you for allowing me to have my emotional moment and have my big cry, and sending hugs back to all of you. You are part of my family. So in any case, so our mission is to include that entire community. So anyway, let's move on. We haven't done jargon of the day in a really long time. And before we get to our guests, I want to make sure that we have some time to do that, because it's really, really super important that we understand when people are talking about things. What are they talking about? Why are they talking about? Why would it be important to us? And sometimes the jargon can sink our boats. So let's go ahead. Let's do the jargon of the day, if you will, Traven. I love today's term, but it can be a sticky wicket. People can use this against you, right? But self-regulation, what does it mean? Why is it important? What is it that we're really talking about? If you watch the show, this is a really important thing to me, the jargon of the day, because you could be with the best experts in the world, but if you can't understand what they're saying, how useful is it to you, right? It's not. And when I was first running around trying to get services for my son, I didn't understand what they were talking about. And I was like, where can you look it up? And I was talking about taking a college class. Well, who had time for that while I'm doing early intervention for my son? So I always said, originally I wanted to do a magazine. I wanted to create a magazine. And then somebody said, do a radio show. And then we started doing this. But one of the first things, the first day when I came in, I said, the first segment we're going to do is jargon of the day, where we give the actual definition and make fun of it. And then we're going to give you the working definition, because heaven knows we need it, right? So let's take a look at what our actual definition for self-regulation is. I don't even know. It's probably a hot mess. Oh, here we go. The control of one's behavior through the use of self-monitoring, keeping a record of behavior, self-evaluation, assessing the information obtained during self-monitoring, and self-reinforcement, rewarding oneself for appropriate behavior on or for attaining a goal. Self-regulation processes are stressed in behavior therapy. And that was directly from the APA Dictionary of Psychology. Well, la-dee-da. It's not the worst of definitions. It really isn't, because it kind of breaks it down into things that you could go, do I do that? Do I not do that? Right. But it's a little stuffy. It's got a little bit of a stick up. It's, what. But, kind of interesting that it's got these three elements to it. I don't want to flush it down the toilet, but if I'm having trouble with self-regulation, then this definition is not going to help me, right? Let's see if our working definition gets us any closer to where we want to be. Well, it breaks it down for us a little bit more. Noticing that what you're feeling and wanting, and understanding what you're feeling and wanting, and having the ability and tools to change what you're feeling, successfully setting goals to get what you want. Additionally, being able to reward yourself for appropriate behaviors. That breaks it all down. The self-monitoring is that self-assessment, self-recording, kind of checking in with yourself, right? Sorry, guys, it just keeps popping up on my screen. Self-instruction. This is like, how you talk to yourself. We talked about this a little bit yesterday with Dr. Grampiche, that I said that since we moved to masks and I started going out of the house, and I still am wearing a mask, you guys, everywhere I go. If I go to the store, if I'm around other people other than in the studio, I've got a mask on. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. It's okay for me. I'll be crazy for you. I like the mask, but I also am talking in the mask and saying my inner monologue in the mask, and that's a little twisted, and that has to stop. But it's interesting because as I'm speaking my inner monologue, I'm realizing how much of it is really negative, and that I need to be working on. And it's like the recordings that you play in your head where you say, well, that was stupid. Why did you do that? And if we could, I always like to say, if I was talking to a 16-year-old girl who, at 16, it's that tenuous self-esteem. I would never say that to a 16-year-old girl. I would never say, well, that was stupid. Why did you do that? Right? That would be the last thing that I would ever say. I would have patience with a 16-year-old girl, and I would say, hey, we don't get it right every time, but be gentle with yourself. You're learning and growing, and you're going to get it right eventually. I would love it if I talked to myself that way, right? And I don't know what you guys do for self-talk, but how we talk to ourselves becomes how we perceive the world, right? And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's a big part of self-regulation that can be taught to anyone on the spectrum, not on the spectrum. Goal setting, the third part of it, and that self-reinforcement piece. Are we being nice? Are we rewarding ourselves when we do something hard, when we do something well? Are we making sure that there are enough things in life that make us want to get up in the morning? Because, adulting is hard. Being a teenager is hard. Being a kid can be hard, right? So what are the things that are rewarding? Are there breaks? Are there meaningful rewards? So all of those become pieces of self-regulation. Why? Why do we need to get good at self-regulation? And why is it important to teach self-regulation to individuals who are on the spectrum? Well, it's important for everyone. It's not that it's just important for people that it's on the spectrum. It just means it's also important for them. Why? Because they're people. Sometimes I get so frustrated when people are like, well, so-and-so's on the spectrum. And I'm like, are we saying that they're not a person? Are we saying that they don't have goals? Are we saying that they don't have things that they want to do and that they don't want to feel well? I mean, what do you mean by that? Right? These are people. They have a right to feel what they're feeling, and they have a right to want things, and they have a right to feel upset when they aren't able to do the things that they want to do. But if we don't teach people, all people, self-regulation, it's sort of like sticking them in a field and going, I hope you manage. I hope you figure it out. I hope you can find food and shelter. And I just don't believe in that. I'm a big believer in teaching and teaching methods and helping people to be all that they want to be. This is not about teaching people to be who we want them to be. It's helping them to be who they want to be. I see that somebody has written it about gas pain and scripting. Oh, I saw that you were up on the job at 2:00 in the morning. I saw that on Facebook this morning. Hopefully we'll get a chance to get to that, but you got to get some rest. Because here's the other thing. If you don't get good rest and your kiddos don't get good rest, guess what goes out the window? Self-regulation. Because it's that they call it the halt thing. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, your ability to cope goes out the window. Your ability to self-regulate, you could know all of these things to the core of your being. You could have notebooks and signs everywhere telling you how to do them. But if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, it's going to be very hard to self-regulate. So when your kiddo is up and won't sleep and you're up with them, guess what happens? Now you got two people who are going to be in dysregulation, and meltdowns are more likely to happen for either of you. So I'm going to encourage you, if there's somebody that you can have come in, or a place that you can take your son, so that, whether it's school or someplace else, but you got to prioritize rest for you, because it's not going to go well if you don't. Okay, so that's self-regulation, super important. It'll be part of what we're talking about all this week. Let's move on to our question of the day. We encourage you guys to be writing in on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter, because we can see those quickest right now on the chat. But our question for you today is, what is the hardest part of dating for you? And I want to open this up to everyone because I used to think, well, this is just for single people. And the truth is that I've just celebrated my 20th wedding anniversary, and I'm realizing that I'm still not good at this with my husband. And that in order to stay married for a long period of time, and it's funny, you know who told me this? The person who gave me this advice like 11 years ago was Temple Grandin. Dr. Temple Grandin said to me, "What are you doing to stay connected to your husband outside of autism?" And I went, "Huh, what? What you talking about, Willis? I don't know what you mean." I literally was gobsmacked. And she was like, "Oh no, we see this, that if parents can stay together, it's better for the kids. It's not always possible. Don't blame yourself if that wasn't your story, right? But if there's love and they're good people, and you want to stay together, part of what you have to do is find time to be. This is Temple telling me this. You have to find time to be together and not have it be about the kids or about autism, which suspiciously sounds like dating to me. And I don't know that we know how to do that. So, what is the hardest part of dating for me? I'll write in, and then you guys can write in what's hard for you. It's hard for me to prioritize it because everything else takes priority over it, and I see that is a super bad plan. It's just not a good plan. So that's what's hard for me is having the willingness to go, oh, wait a second, because you know what? If something isn't on fire, I don't always give it my attention. But the truth is that we should not be letting our dating life, whether we're single or married, be something that we have to wait till it's on fire. That's my 2 cents on that. But you guys, please write in and say, what's the hardest part of dating for you? You could be someone who loves people on the spectrum and answer that question. Or if you're someone who's on the spectrum, please write in and maybe we'll have an opportunity for Tom and Chrissa to talk a little bit about what you guys write in. Let's move on to our topic of the week. Do we have a topic of the week, Traven? I don't even know because we've been doing shows different. I guess we do because he's playing the graphic. So this is what I know. I probably at the production meeting knew this and then forgot. Well, it's dating on the spectrum. Now, I want to make sure that we separate the topic from the program. Because we're going to be talking about a program that's called the Dating Spectrum. But we ourselves are talking about the whole gamut about what it's like dating on the spectrum. But there's a very specific program that we're going to be talking about today that's just getting ready to start a new session. And it's remarkable. It's from the Ed Asner Center. And I think we were going to pause and play a. Do we have the commercial up ready to go, Traven? Or we were doing that later? I'm so discombobulated. I'm dysregulated today. Can I tell you why? 2 nights ago, I stayed up. The Tylenol commercial. Are we doing that today? We didn't talk about this before. But I am dysregulated because 2 nights ago, I stayed up and watched Pinocchio, the new Disney Pinocchio. Oh, I'm going to be talking about this a lot, you guys. I know that there are many people who said that they didn't love it. I loved it on steroids, on absolute steroids. I'm still crying over it. I couldn't sleep. I feel that it was about autism. I feel that it was about autism and disability and how we relate to it as parents. It was personal to me, y'all. Tom Hanks as Geppetto, it became very personal for me about being an autism parent, and it destroyed me in the best possible way. In any case, we're going to talk more about that, especially next week on Let's Talk Movies. But I'm sleep deprived from 2 nights ago. But anyway, let's take a second. We're going to pause for just a second to hear this message from the friends of ours at Shapiro Law Firm. And then we'll be back with Tom Iland and Chrissa Saad. So watch this. It's important. A recent study funded by the National Institute of Health suggests that there may be a higher risk of autism in children whose mother took the pain reliever acetaminophen during pregnancy. Acetaminophen is the active ingredient in scores of over-the-counter products, including Tylenol, Excedrin, and Robitussin. So if your child was diagnosed with autism and you took any acetaminophen product while pregnant, this commonly recommended over-the-counter medication may be responsible, though additional research is ongoing. If you or a loved one used Tylenol or other medications containing acetaminophen while pregnant and later gave birth to a child diagnosed with autism, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Shapiro Legal Group is now evaluating potential legal claims by parents of autistic children. Call right now to see if you may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait. You can reach Shapiro Legal Group at 888-657-0455. Again, that number is 888-657-0455. You can also contact Shapiro Legal Group by going to shapirolegalgroup.com/autism.
Shapiro Legal Group, PLLC, associates with attorneys throughout the country to help people nationwide, and is licensed in New York and Washington, D.C., and has its principal office at 60 East 42nd Street, New York, New York. This ad was read by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Welcome back. I hope that you guys are able to hear me. I'm really want to encourage you. I know we had people writing in yesterday saying, "Oh my gosh, I took Tylenol and products that contained Tylenol when I was pregnant." And so really want to encourage you, please call that phone number. We're going to be talking about this a lot. It's important that you register, see if you qualify, because research is ongoing and there may be financial compensation. So please take a second to do that. All right. Our guests are here because they've got an amazing program that they've been doing this for quite a while at the Ed Asner Family Center. And it's remarkable. I haven't, I don't get to go to the class, but I hear about it from a lot of different people, and it's absolutely one of the greatest things going. The program is called the Dating Spectrum. So we're welcoming to the show. We've had them both on before, I don't know if we've had them on together, but we definitely have had them on separately. Tom Iland, who is one of my favorite people on the planet. He is an amazing person, amazing speaker, an amazing coach. You can see on his name tag there, it says Come to Life Coaching. He and his mom wrote an amazing book and workbook that if you have teens and preteens or adults, I really want to encourage you to check it out. Come to Life. And of course, Chrissa Saad. Chrissa, you're going to have to forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, because I said, how often do I say your last name? But
I know.
Is it right? Am I
just say my first name and that's it? I'm good.
How do you say your last name?
Saad.
So I'm getting close. Anyway, you are an amazing LMFT. You are the person who is making all those wonderful counseling things happen at the Ed Asner Family Center. We just are amazed with all the inroads that you have made in this area over the last few years. It's really super important. Are you at the center right now? Is that what I hear in the background?
No, I believe that's Tom.
It's me.
Oh, where are you, Tom? You're coming to us from the road.
I am. In fact, let me move over here.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're on the move. He's going places.
To a better spot. How's this?
There we go. So where are you in the world right now, Carmen Miranda?
I'm at Arterial Coffee in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm on my way to run in an Ironman triathlon about 2 hours south of here in Cambridge, Maryland. So I am living the good life and coming to life and looking to really make a difference by actually living
the dream.
In it.
Did you say triathlon? Is that what you're doing?
An Ironman triathlon. That's what I'm shooting for on Saturday.
That's craziness, Tom. Congratulations. I know you're going to be able to do it. If not this time, another time. It's amazing. Like, that's crazy. They call it Ironman for a reason.
I have to say, I'm just so impressed with Tom because he not only talks about what people, gives advice, coaching, and sort of helps people find their goals, but he also talks about his own life. He's actually living it and doing it. He's not just talking about it.
Yeah.
This man has so much energy. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah. He's young. You know, he can do that. He's young.
I'm getting older, but I am getting older.
Yeah, well, we all are,
I'm not
Tom,
letting that stop me.
but you are still very young. Okay, so let's break this down for people. First of all, Chrissa, I want you to talk just a little bit about the amazing Ed Asner Family Center in case we have viewers that are new to the program, and because a big part of the dream was to have the counseling component. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. We started Matt and Nava, the co-founders of the center, just started talking about things that they really wanted to achieve and goals and things they wanted to provide for the community. And it became, after so much plotting and planning, it became realized around 2017. So we've been around for a while. It's just that we had a little bit of a pause during COVID, but we had some ups and downs just like everybody else, but we are full strength and moving forward 100%. And one of the biggest goals was for Nava's dream was to start mental health support and wellness for the special needs families, community people, individuals, grandparents, siblings. You know, we really wanted to support everybody through our work at the Ed Asner Family Center. So not only do we have mental health and wellness, we have really fun programs for the whole community, mixers for like dance nights. I mean, pre-COVID, we really had so many things going on. I mean, our last huge event was like a Valentine's Day prom that was in February before the shutdown. We had like almost 200 people at a sensory-friendly event, and it was really a wonderful experience. But we have so many wonderful programs at the center, and a couple of those is why we're here today for me and Tom to talk about and really promote. But you know, at the center, we have 5 clinicians that have been really trained and experienced in working with individuals on the spectrum or their families. So we really have a lot of knowledge and you know, experience in working with people and families affected by autism. So
Absolutely. But I also want to say, and part of the reason why we want to be very particular about saying that the name of the program is the Dating Spectrum,
yes,
is because the Ed Asner Center, Family Center, as you just said, it isn't just about autism. You know, you're very welcoming of anyone with special needs in the family. So, and you welcome the entire family. And we want to make sure, because I know that that's something really important to Nava's mission. And so I want to make sure that I say that. Because we're Autism Live, we're going to be talking about it specifically for individuals on the spectrum. But the truth of the matter is that you are very inclusive of anyone who has special needs for this program and all the things that you do at the center. And I want to make sure that we talk about that. So you've been doing the Dating Spectrum for a while, and Tom came and joined, what, like a year ago, Tom?
I think he joined in our 3rd semester. We're getting ready to actually start our 4th semester.
Very cool. And so, Tom, you bring something really wonderful and unique to this. Tell people a little bit about you and how you came to be the amazing person that you are.
Well, from a romance and relationship perspective, basically I was diagnosed with autism when I was 13 years old. And from the time I got diagnosed, I knew I wanted a girlfriend. That was just something that I felt would make me feel whole, or it was missing in my life. And I had difficulties interacting with girls, with women. Like, I would call them when I was really interested, leave lots of voicemails, and almost get myself thrown in jail for that, like calling too much. And also having difficulty socializing. So with the help of my sister, my mother, and several therapists and support team members, I was able to get a little bit of an idea as to what the social game is, so to speak, and what kind of social skills need to be had in order to have and keep a girlfriend. And I have had several relationships with women on and off the autism spectrum, older and younger than me. And I share some of my stories with the participants in the dating spectrum, and it's really beneficial to them because I've been in their shoes, and they need to see and hear it from one of their peers and many of them tend to be men. So to hear it from a man as to what they're struggling with, what they're going through, and I can give them some hope or some suggestions as to how they can be successful on the dating scene.
Absolutely. So let's talk specifics about, because when is this new term? Do you call it a semester? What are you calling it?
Yeah. So we have been so excited about the creation of this program that we started almost 2 years ago, and Nava and I created this program together. And I started writing the curriculum based on my own experience. I'm single, and also listening to people within the community. I really did my research, and Chelsea Darnell helped me to really write the curriculum. And after the first semester, when we started, I pretty much sort of took everyone's suggestions and thoughts and curiosities and incorporated it into the dating spectrum. So each semester, I'm fine tuning the curriculum, I'm fine tuning media that we show during the classes. We're really taking all of those questions and experiences into account, and then putting it back out there into the community. Like Tom said, everyone has a personalized experience, and it's really important for others to hear about that. So I really call the dating spectrum a conversation about dating and relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I love about it, what I hear, because again, I don't ever get to come to one of these, but I've heard a lot from lots of people, is that the way you go about it is very fun. And that, we talked about self-regulation before. That was our jargon of the day. And I love the things that I've heard back are about self-love, about, knowing who you are and what you want and what your boundaries are, and then how to be a good friend. So I love that it's not just a textbook manual for, okay, so here's how you ask somebody out, right? That it's about starting with self, which I think is super duper important. So when does this new term start? What day? Where are people signing up? Let's talk about those things.
So, we're working on the start date, but we recently pushed it back because of Rosh Hashanah. We heard from the community, and we wanted to accommodate people, so we pushed the start date back to October 4th, which I believe is October 4th, or the 3rd, which is
the 3rd
Monday.
Is the Monday. Yeah, 3rd. Yeah. Monday, October 3rd.
And we're located in Reseda, so we're doing in-person classes, which is really helpful because you can feel people's energy in the room. You can, it's really been tough, and there's been a lot of online burnout, but we love having the in-person class. We do mock dating as well. So we do examples where we put people together, or Tom and I step in and help with different scenarios that really helps people get a vibe of what it's like. And, so we're also talking about, like you talked about self-love. We're talking about too, that it's okay if you're not in a relationship, that doesn't have to be a goal. It's to find a significant other, that it's all right, for you just to understand yourself and what your needs are. And, so that's been really instrumental in discussing with the community.
Yeah. And we're showing the flyer right now. I love this because it's a social skills experience.
It really is.
And, unfortunately, you would think with everything that's been going on in this world in the last 20 years and all the strides that we've made in realizing, okay, people on the spectrum might need support with this and might need support with that. And we've done, so many shows on social skills. This still seems to be an area where everybody says we need it, everybody says we want it, but very few people are offering this kind of class. I really can't think of anybody else who's offering this in this way. Now, you mentioned that it's in Reseda. For those of you who don't know, Reseda is in California. It's just north of Los Angeles. And you might be like, oh, well, I don't live in Los Angeles, Shannon. Los Angeles is not the center of the world. I will tell you, though, that I think that somewhere down the road that there needs to be at Asner centers in more places, and this program in more places. And it can, it really can. It has the facility to be franchised. If somebody super wanted to have this in their town, I'm sure that they could reach out to you and that you guys could figure out a way. Am I completely in left field?
No, I'm so happy you said that, because Tom and I are willing to take our show on the road, and we are prepared. Our materials are, we have wonderful examples, visual examples. We utilize multiple approaches to teaching so that we make it fun and not boring. And, we get in there, we sit with the students. We just have these wonderful experiences. It's an 8-week course. And we're so willing to take our show on the road. So if there's somebody that is open to having us in their city, we are open to that. And we can even, do a weekend, maybe a couple weekends, where we do a Saturday and Sunday, and we sort of condense the curriculum into shorter to longer timeframes. And then, maybe come back and do part 2 or part 3 of the dating spectrum.
I think it's important to say that, because, it's very easy to sit someplace and say, why isn't this here? And that's available, and you can get down in the mouth about it. But if you really want it, there is a path. Yes, it'll take a little bit of time and energy, but the truth is that time and energy is just reaching out to them and calling them, and maybe finding a sponsor. Although, they probably could do it where each participant pays a small amount of money, and that adds up. So it's all doable, you guys. You just got to put yourself out there and say, I want to prioritize this, and say, this is something that I need or that my kid needs. Now, what age range do you allow in the one that you're getting starting in October?
Well, this one is 18 and older, which seems to really work well for us, because we do have some 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds in the class as well. And so we really try to personalize, the information to each student's age range and kind of get a feel for it. And we have a wonderful time really sharing stories. Tom has been so great in sharing his own experiences, and it really does resonate so much. And he kind of, he has a way of reaching the students that is just so lovely.
Well, I mean, Tom, you're a renowned speaker. What is your classification as a Toastmaster? It's something amazing. Tell us.
The designation is a Toastmasters accredited speaker. These are people that have mastered the art of public speaking and apply it to a particular trade or line of work. And I earned the designation 3 years ago, and there are currently only 90 Toastmasters accredited speakers in the world, and I'm the only one on record with autism. So there we go. It shows how I've really come out of my shell, and I'm starting to tell my story and have an impact on people on a personal level.
It's so wonderful. After class, everyone sticks around and says, little things of gratitude, or that meant so much to me after class, or to hear Tom speak, or to get a little experience. We had one student that he was trying to apply for a job, and we did mock dating, which is just really conversation. And he was able to take that experience into his in-person interview. And he said it helped him out. He was able to practice with us and then go to his interview and feel comfortable to be able to interview in person.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's a very close skill. I see that Matt Asner is watching. We're welcoming him. One of the things that I particularly love about the way you guys do things, when you have your classes, the caregivers are invited to stay, but go to another room to sit with other caregivers to have fun and refreshments and talk about different things. And I've participated in that a few times, and it's super duper fun. Matt Asner is usually in there leading that group, and he is more fun than you can know what to do with. And eventually we always get to talking about movies, which is my favorite thing to talk about with Matt Asner. So thank you for being here, Matt. It's a great, great program. And you mentioned the mixers before. I mean, just stop with nobody does it like you guys do it. And you mentioned that Valentine's Day one, like that is so epic in everybody's memory. Can I tell you how much we all talked about that during COVID? I was there dancing. At one point, I danced so much and so hard that I became afraid we were going to have to call an ambulance. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to be the person that we have to call the ambulance for. But I had exerted myself, shall we say.
I think it was date night for you and your husband. So there you go. Temple was like giving you cues to like keep the fire alive. And it was like a prom, and your husband and you were like, I think you were dressed up. Yeah.
We danced it out. But the other thing was that eventually my husband got hot and tired and he went and sat outside. And just like at a prom, it was me and a bunch of other women with our purses in the middle dancing around the purses. I'm not naming any names, but Jill Crater Hart, you were there with me. There were several other moms participating. And you know what? We needed that too. But I always say it was like being at a really good wedding with your kids where everybody's accepted. And so there were people dancing all over the place. There were people dancing with their kids of all ages. There were couples dancing together on the spectrum, not on the spectrum, caregivers, parents, teenagers, whatever. Everybody was having a really good time. You guys really know how to have a party.
Well, I have to say that comes from Nava. She is the mastermind behind so much of our stuff. She has really created some really great programs. And out of the dating spectrum, just as a side note, she felt that there was a need for sex education, because one of the topics in the dating, we have a different topic over the 8 weeks. Each week is a different topic. And sex education ended up becoming its own class. And so she was like, let's make this a prerequisite sometimes to the dating spectrum. And then she just decided that we had a need for 12 to 17-year-olds for sex ed. And Megan and Michelle are co-teachers for this class. And they make it really fun and easy. And they're very comfortable teaching sex ed. And they bring this wonderful presence where everyone feels really comfortable and safe to be able to share. And we have these wonderful classes. Tom, you've been there in some of the sex ed classes.
I have. I think it's very necessary for our young people to have access to resources and that particular conversation, because I think there seems to be a little bit of like a stigma or stereotype in the autism community that some people on the autism spectrum, their parents or their caregivers might think their child will never have sex.
Yeah.
And so the talk is never had, but the curiosity and the urges are still there, and they need to be discussed.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, everyone. It's like, you don't be in denial. Like, what a wonderful thing to, dream about, that, someday your child could have a very healthy relationship with a very healthy sexual life. Isn't that what we would all hope for if we really could just be open and honest?
Absolutely.
I know it gives us the squeamies, but because we don't want to picture it. Nobody wants to picture it, but ultimately it's what we want for our kids, right? Be happy and healthy.
And even in the discussion of sex, there are some people that have voiced that isn't interesting to them, but at least they're expressing that, and they're making a decision, and they're making a choice based on knowledge. And so we're talking about that, and that's perfectly fine too. If you want companionship, but you don't want to have an intimate relationship, or you don't feel ready to have sex, that's great too, because everybody's relationship and dating is individualized. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. There's no peer pressure. A relationship doesn't always include sex, and that's fine too.
Absolutely. And again, with these other things like the sex ed classes, I would imagine that if somebody wanted one of those in their neck of the woods, that's also something that could be talked about. So who would people call if they said, okay, I'm not in Los Angeles, I'm not able to get to Reseda, but this is all exactly what I need? Who would they reach out to, Chrissa?
So basically, they for the dating spectrum, it'd be great if they wanted to call me, which my number is 855 sorry, 818-855-2199. And then also we have the main number at Asner Family Center, which I am drawing a blank on, but I think it's on the flyer.
Okay.
And then there's our website, which is teafc.org.
Wonderful. You guys can reach out to do that. And thank you, Tom, for putting that number in there again, 818-855-2199, 818-855-2199 to get a hold of Chrissa. Now, we've been talking about dating and relationships and self-love, and I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't also mention that there studies are showing that there is a higher level of LGBTQ members that percentage-wise on the spectrum than there is in the population that is not on the spectrum. So it would be remiss of us not to talk about that area. Those individuals also need information about sex ed and about what it's like to be dating in their community. And I know that you guys are very inclusive, and you also do you still have a group that is just for LGBTQ?
We did in the past. During COVID, we ran an online LGBTQIA plus group, and it ran for a good while, but then students went back to school and then it sort of disbanded. And we have opportunity to do that again, but our dating spectrum class and the sex ed is totally inclusive. It's not separated out. It's for everybody. And we talk about all of the things that surround it. So again, our each semester is sort of like each student is taken in to consideration. What do they bring to the collective? How can we tailor it to each student's needs? And so anybody that is from the LGBT community or just whatever they need in that moment, we will adapt.
Which is absolutely amazing. So, Tom, what has this been like for you? I imagine when you were a teen, this would have been a lovely thing if you'd had opportunity to, but now for you to co-lead it, what's that like for you?
Well, I actually feel comfortable telling my stories and sharing examples of where I messed up or where I failed or where I got rejected or dumped, because there's always something I could take away from each relationship with each woman that I've had over the years. Like, for instance, how long before I have to say, this isn't working, like we're growing apart and we're just wasting our time, or also to get an idea if a woman might want to just use me for like my stuff or something that I have versus in loving me for me. Yes. And also knowing when to say no, because I know people on the autism spectrum want to have friends, girlfriends, so they might say yes to be people pleasers or not rock the boat, but that could be very detrimental to them. So for me to be able to lead that conversation or maybe have an aha moment within the audience, I think that makes it all worthwhile. And we get a lot of laughs sometimes when I share my stories or where I messed up somewhere. And you ever heard that saying, someday we'll look back on this and laugh? I've definitely felt that as I talk about my dating life.
But not only are you a good speaker, Tom, you're also somebody that is deeply compassionate and empathetic and kind, and that you ooze that. It radiates out of you. So I think that it makes everybody very comfortable around you to be open. So, and I mean that only as a compliment. I think, how you operate is very open and compassionate and caring. And again, I think everybody senses it. You just have, as Chrissa said, you just have a way. And that's unique to you.
Essence, and he has the best vibes ever.
Yeah. You're a good person, Tom. And we all recognize it. So, it's wonderful in that respect, because that you're putting yourself in it, and putting if it's your child doing it, or if it's you doing it, you're putting yourself in good hands, or putting your child in good hands with a licensed marriage and family therapist and somebody who is walking the talk and is deeply compassionate and wonderful. So I absolutely love this. You're taking people right now, but there is a class size limit. Is that correct?
Yes. We want to, I'm open to having 15 to 20 students in the dating spectrum class. And so we have a lot of interest right now, but we do have spots open. We have private pay, and then also some of our students were able to get funding from self-determination money. And so in terms of the younger sex ed 101 class, the 12 to 17, we have a few spots open. That's a much smaller class. We're only open to having 5 to 7 students in that class because we really want it to be personalized and very, very connected. And then we also have the 18 and older sex ed class, so we can increase class size a little bit with that one too.
Okay. And this is the tough part of the conversation, but people are going to ask this. Is there hi, Nicholas, we're saying hello to you. Is there a level of functioning that is more beneficial for someone to get the full benefit of the class?
I would say that it's on a per person basis, because we certainly want people to be able to self-regulate and be able to participate and not be disruptive for the other students. But then we had other students in the past who had used assistive technology devices, which were wonderful. And we were able to help provide them with curriculum in advance, as well as questions, perhaps. We were very mindful of that. And the student was able to formulate questions, type them in advance, and be able to fully participate in the courses. Tom,
Yes.
do you feel the same way?
I do. It's very inclusive, and even if someone can't speak or might use a device to speak, that's not a restriction or a limitation to be part of this class. And we will always make sure that person and their input are included and fully heard.
Yeah, but I think for a lot of things like this that you guys do and other things that we talk about on the show, one of the things that people say often is that, if the person has expressed some interest in the subject, that it's a place that they want to be. I don't think that if your child is not expressing a need to understand things from this point of view, we're not going to force that. Am I correct? They should want to be there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes parents are like, oh, I'm signing my kid up for this. I'm signing my kid up for that. And then you call the kid, they're like, what? I don't know if I want to go to therapy, or I don't know if I want to take this class. I'm not interested in dating, so sometimes, I mean, that really needs to be heard.
And
now Nicholas has, oh, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say that, like there is a saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And
yeah.
And I think if there are any parents or anyone listening to this who might be finding it difficult to get their kid into a class or to describe the benefits, make it about their goals. Make it about the life they want to live. You want to have a girlfriend? This class will help you get a girlfriend. And that might motivate them or help them see, okay, maybe this will be all right. So I would definitely make it about your kid and what they want for themselves. And then you'll have better luck of them participating under their own free will. Under their own free will.
We actually asked that in the class. What are your expectations and goals? Not your parents. There's a difference. What do you want for your life?
Amen to that. That's important. Now, Nicholas, we're almost out of time, but Nicholas has written in and says, I have a question. He says, I want to worry about my college first, but I want to find someone. I want to have a child and look up to my father and suggestions you have, Shannon, or your guests. I don't know whether this is somebody about to go to college or just now in college, but how amazing that is your goal for yourself right now, Nicholas. But of course you want to find someone. I think that's, the natural course of things, right? We all want that companionship. I mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So what suggestion, and I don't know if this person, obviously, if this person lives in Southern California, Nicholas, go to this class, right? This would be a great class for you. He says he is in college. Wonderful. Congratulations. But Nicholas, are you in Southern California? Because my assumption is that you're not. So if they're not able to get to your class, because the big duh is that if they can, this is the best thing, right? But if they can't, what kinds of suggestions would you guys give him?
I'll start by saying, oh, sorry, Chrissa, you want to go first?
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I would say rather than wait, or I should say rather than impose or expect that it has to happen at a given time, sometimes it'll happen when you least expect it. Like I'm currently seeing a woman that I met 3.5 years ago at a networking summit in Burbank. So we met in person that day, and then we exchanged contact information, kept in touch over the course of 3 years during the pandemic. And about 2.5 months ago, we decided to become a couple. So we didn't even know we would meet each other that day. We had no idea we'd be in a relationship now. But over the years, just keeping in touch, staying good friends, and having increasingly intimate and meaningful conversations with one another, do we now have a successful relationship. And her name is Rosetta, and I'm going to be seeing her next week after the Ironman triathlon. She lives in Virginia, so this is a long-distance relationship. But she and I both go to this event not knowing we would be meeting each other, and how this has blossomed into what it is today. So, Nicholas, it will come to you when you least expect it. And I want to, on that note, say, while you're in college, while you're able to experiment or kind of see what life has to offer you, I'll leave you with a quote that a professional networker in my hometown of Santa Clarita told me. A gentleman named Ed Bernstein said, "Magic happens at the party you didn't want to go to."
Amen. That's where I met my husband.
Yeah. So, and Rosetta was like, she was not sure about going to that networking event. And I was a little antsy about it at first, but we both go, we meet, and now we're dating.
Yep. I was invited to a party and I was standing there and I said, I don't want to go. And I said, I feel fat. I don't want to go. And my friend said to me, no, get dressed. This is the kind of party that you go to where you meet your future husband. And I did. So There we go. Chrissa, what did you want to say? And by the way, he said that he's in college and he's in Midwest.
Midwest, yes.
Yes.
Basically, not to put pressure on yourself that, college is a huge stressor, and moving into a dorm, if you're away from home, it's a lot of pressure. And, your goals are to get your education. It's okay if you want to just pursue college first and then start to think about having a relationship. Many students do talk about that. There's only so much they could juggle, and college is huge to juggle, and a relationship is huge, because then you get into you're not spending enough time with me. When can I see you? Really juggling that in your schedule too is really tough. Like you were just talking about how you still need to make time as a couple for each other, and as well as career, family, and all those other things. So we do talk about that in the class as well, not making your partner 100% your only thing in your life, but to have a balanced life.
Yes. And they're asking for contact information, and you can see right on the screen, and you might be listening. I don't want to assume because we podcast also, but Tom Iland, you can find him at Tom Iland, and there's no S in Island. So it's Thomas Iland, excuse me, Tom at Thomas Iland. So no S in the island. Or you can go to cometolifecoaching.com. And Chrissa, they can find you at teafc.org, correct?
Yes, all of our info is there.
Okay, so now is the time. If you or someone you know is interested in this, it is ideal to sign up right now to be in any of these upcoming classes. And there isn't just the dating spectrum, there are more classes, and you should go to teafc.org to find all of those classes. Are they still doing some classes virtually? Not these classes, but other classes, some of the art classes? I think they are. I think Aviva still does her drawing class online.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly. We would really have to look at the website to see what's current.
I know. I'm expecting you to know everything, and you can't possibly.
We have a lot of social media as well, like our Instagram, our Facebook might be more informational in terms of the other classes. But I know we're gearing up for a musical, the Wizard of Oz musical in Los Angeles. And also we have so many other upcoming events. We're going to have a community mixer as well. So stay tuned and check out our social media and our website.
I also want to say that this year, again, we are partnering with the Ed Asner Family Center for our Sensitive Santa event, which we are, fingers crossed, hoping will be more in person and not the drive up that we did last year. So stay tuned for that as well. So I did not catch the email. Can you send it to me on Facebook for Tom Iland? Traven, do we have the ability to put Tom's, and Tom, are you okay if we put your email on Facebook? Is that all right for you?
You may.
All right.
There it is.
There we go. Traven just did it because he's that good. All right, you guys, we're way out of time now, even though we started late. We've done our all that we can. But just amazing work that you guys are both doing. Tom, I wish you big luck on this Ironman triathlon. We're going to be watching social media to see how it goes for you this time. Please take care of yourself, though, right? Because I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's been so beastly hot here. I can't even imagine. Getting up off the couch is more than I can manage right now. And Chrissa, thank you for all the good work that you guys are doing. We're going to look forward to hearing more about it. Again, TEACF.com. Did I get it wrong?
It's basically the Ed Asner Family Center.org. So TEAFC.org. But Shannon, I just wanted to say thank you so much. You are the heart and soul of this community across the United States, internationally, whatever. You have such passion and you have such a beautiful soul. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm so happy to know you. And to Tom, I'm so excited for the future, for what we're creating. It's really lovely to be working with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let me just say as we leave that tomorrow, for the first time, we're starting a new show here on the Autism Network. Because, we do Let's Talk. We do Let's Talk Autism with Nancy Allspaw Jackson. We do Let's Talk Movies with Moira Giammatteo. And now starting tomorrow, once a month, we're doing Let's Talk All the Things. And my co-host will be the amazing Rachel Bird, mom to Kobe Bird. She is a panic and a half. She makes me laugh so hard that I can't breathe. She is Martha Stewart in a different dress. She is a crafter and makes the most amazing gluten-free recipes, but she also is hilarious. So can't wait. It happens to be my 60th birthday tomorrow. So make sure you tune in to watch me and Rachel laugh ourselves into outer oblivion. I guarantee she's got a quiche recipe that is gluten-free, casein-free, vegan. No, I'm sorry. You can't be vegan and have eggs. It's a vegetarian. So there we go. And thus starts the hilarity. And I watched the video that she made. Wait till you see what she pulls out of her refrigerator. You're not going to believe it. I laughed so hard last night. I almost coughed up a lung. So that's all tomorrow. You won't want to miss that. And don't forget on Friday, now it's Stories from the Spectrum. So if you haven't watched that, you really need to be watching that. But thank you, Tom and Chrissa, for being with us. And thank you for all the amazing work you do. We'll see you guys tomorrow when I'm in my 60s. Until then, give your kiddo a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.